I'm Ali Zendrian, founder of A to Z Communication. This is my Brand Stories podcast. This is where we discuss everything related to branding. Our next guest is Ollie Taylor. He is the founder of Wisdom and Wayfinder, which is a business consulting services group. Ollie had a 10-year career in marketing, which he then navigated into business consulting as he realized that things like marketing and sometimes press releases just aren't the solution to certain business issues. We delve a little bit more into that conversation right now. Ollie, thank you so much for being on my podcast. So this is the Brand Stories podcast where we talk about everything branding related. And it was quite impressive seeing you at the recent LaTip convention. I felt like that solidified what good branding is because you did a great job on stage.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. So the first question, what is your favorite brand and why?
There's so many brands that I really like and appreciate it, so I don't know if I could narrow it down to just one. I think I appreciate different ones for different reasons, and I'm just trying to go through the Rolodex of the different brands that I know. I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, so that's like always a brand that I appreciate seeing across my news feed.
So my answer was Walt Disney. I love the experience of it and the fact that people are very like, this is my thing and I will like defend it to the death, basically, for better or worse. So what is it about Reese's that attracts you so much or gets you so interested in the brand?
It's just always been like my favorite candy. I use it as a personal reward for myself sometimes, like for a really good workout or I have like a really good thing that happens work-wise or with a client. I don't try to eat them too much because obviously I'm trying to stay fit, stay in shape. To your point about Disney, I went on a trip down to Florida a couple years back. Went to both Disney and Universal Studios. And I could say one of the things that I saw that was completely different about both of them was Universal. It's like you were surrounded by different IPs, different entities, the Transformers and Harry Potter and all those different things. But being in Disney was like being immersed in the world. And I always pointed to there's one ride called Living with the Land where they source a lot of the food and stuff they use within the park. They have the hydroponics that they have, and then the fish and everything they grow on site. And one of the things that I noticed was that the water hoses was actually in the shape of the Mickey Mouse. It's like, it's such a small detail. It's like, who's really thinking about that? Like, if you just had your hose coiled up in a circle like everybody else does around a garage, that'd be one thing. But like, they actually took the time to do that. And it's thinking like, wow, they really do have those little details that they try to put everywhere. Like, that's that level of branding.
So I love that, by the way, and appreciate the reference to all the hidden Mickeys. Lord only knows I haven't found all of them, but I feel like that will be, a life goal at some point that like I cannot pass until I find all of them.
I think if you find all of the hidden Mickeys, it's kind of like Willy Wonka. You get to own Walt Disney now.
Definitely. So Ollie, backing up a little bit, if you don't mind telling everybody the kind of work that you do and how you got into that.
Yeah, so I am now a business consultant. I've been doing that for about 1.5 years now, and I got into it after a decade of owning a marketing agency because I got tired of business owners trying to solve business problems with marketing solutions. Oftentimes, the go-to for most business owners when sales are lagging or there are issues with their staff or just with their operations, they go to, we need to sell more, we need to do more, we need to be more visible. It's kind of like they want to put a fresh coat of paint on a house that has a foundation that is cracked and crumbling. And I just got really tired of that experience of people that I knew I could help. I knew what they needed, but they were so focused on just making it shinier, making it better, trying to get those vanity metrics rather than fixing the actual foundational things of their business that would actually give them the growth and the improvement that they were looking for long term.
Yeah, and you're right. There are even a few times that it feels like from a PR perspective that people are looking for, but if you just get me in, name the publication, Wall Street Journal, wherever it is, everything, that will just lead to all these leads and brand awareness will be through the roof. And A, either it's impossible to attain, or B, that comes and goes and nothing really changes because, to your point, something foundationally, structurally is an issue.
Yeah, it's literally the difference between winning once and then winning over and over again. It's like, yeah, you can get that publication in a Forbes article, which most people are kind of hip to now, that it's something that you can just pay for, to get access to. It doesn't carry the same prestige that it used to when there was a lot more mystery around how these things kind of worked. Same thing with, whether it be doing a TEDx talk or, being on a top rated podcast, like, yeah, those things are great. they're nice feathers in your cap, but if you don't have a system to back it up, all you're doing is kind of drawing attention to the fact that the emperor has no clothes, if you will.
Yes. Which is a PR nightmare. Nobody really likes to, oh, I gotta block the emperor. He's got no clothes.
Yeah, don't peek behind the curtain, right? To draw Wizard of Oz reference there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So, as far as the biggest structural issues that you find with businesses, what are the common things that people come to you with that they, for whatever reason, can't see themselves?
Yeah, a lot of the business owners that I work with are really gifted and talented at what they do. They're great practitioners, but when it comes to building a business around their talent, their gift, their skill set, they don't realize that it's a completely different animal. Oftentimes where they struggle with is, one, having those boundaries and operations in place in terms of figuring out, like, okay, yes, you are working for yourself and you are an entrepreneur. Technically, you don't have a boss, right? You don't have to show up to your office at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or whatever it is. But if you don't put those types of boundaries and structural things into your calendar, then you're just kind of going with however you feel on any given day. And so that's not going to get you the results that you want. Two, they don't take time to really define who their client is, who their ideal client is, and who their audience is, right? So in terms of what types of sales or marketing or outreach that you're going to be doing, if you don't know who your ideal target is, you're not going to know where to go, what conversations to be having. And if people want to refer you, they're not going to know how to do that. They're not going to know what to listen out for, or what types of businesses that you want to be working with. And then, of course, in that same vein, they don't take the time to create what I call client classification system in terms of, well, which of your clients are going to get the most amount of your time and direct access, right? If you have different tiers of service, if you have different price points that you're working at, you can't give the same level of attention to everyone. It's just impossible. It's just the limitations of, unfortunately, being a human being, and the clock that you have. You have to make sure that you are giving the appropriate amount of attention and care to the right clients, as opposed to those who may not be your ideal fit, who may be more demanding in terms of what they're paying and the value that they're getting. And then to that point, if they do have employees, they don't take the time to properly train them, properly vet them, and then give them what I call a decision authority matrix in terms of, in a red light, yellow light, green light fashion, what are the decisions that they can make without you, so that they're not constantly knocking on your door asking for your input on everything. Because if you've hired people, and hopefully you've hired smart people who are skilled at what they do, you want to let them do their jobs. That's what we're saying.
Exclamation point, everything, all that, because you're right. The micromanaging, it doesn't get anybody anywhere at the end of the day, and only leads to burnout and dissatisfaction. So love that. Thank you for calling that out. Another point that you referenced that I really liked was the not understanding the product market fit. So do you think, is it because an entrepreneur creates something and you presume that, the clientele for this has to be X based on business experience, but then don't see that ultimately the person who buys it is Y, or what is it that causes that disconnect?
Yeah, that's certainly a big portion of that disconnect. I think there's also an aspect of, something can be a really good idea, but if it's not an idea that people want or are craving, doesn't matter, right? Yeah, the model could work, it all makes sense, but if there's not a demand for that particular solution or service, you're not going to be able to sell it, and you can't force people to want that thing.
True. So how have you built branding into your own business now? Obviously, coming from a marketing background, I feel like then you must have been very deliberate and thoughtful about all of it. So if you don't mind giving us a peek behind the curtain, to steal a phrase from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be honest, it didn't come right away. I still had to do my own work and diligence and trying things out over and over again to see what worked, to see what resonated. So I am always in a state of testing different messages, testing different price points for the audience that I want to work with, where I want to be going. I think there's kind of like two places that you can always start, whether, you can look at who's your current clientele and figure out, okay, do I want to keep serving these people? If so, what are the best ways that I can serve them? And if I want to make more money from this current pool, then I need to figure out a way to either deliver more value or find more things that they really want and are craving and need,
Yeah.
and then determine if I'm the appropriate person to deliver that. Do I have the skill set? Is there something else that I need to learn, or can I partner with people to deliver those missing services or missing skill sets in a way that my current clientele wants? And then if I want to scale up or serve a higher class of clientele or audience, then what's the gap either in my services, in my pricing, or in my skill set that I need to elevate so that I can actually do that? You have to be really curious.
Yeah.
I think that's the foundation of pretty much anything. It's just you got to be curious enough to care enough to find out what matters to the audience that I'm talking to. I could have the most clever tagline, the most clever type of marketing, but if it's not landing, if it's not really resonating with the audience that I'm intending to serve, then I've got to be ruthless in sort of letting it go.
Yeah. So apart from sales, which would be like an obvious metric, are there other times that people should realize like your marketing, your PR, whatever it is not landing? You got to change something.
Yeah, if people don't remember what you're saying, especially us as Lit members, if we're going there on a weekly basis and people can't do your 30-second commercial for you, trust me, they are not thinking about you outside of that meeting, and they are not going to be making those referrals for you. Same goes even if you're not a part of a referral networking group like Lit. You've got to understand that if your referral partners don't understand what it is that you do and they don't know who the ideal person is, again, they are not thinking about you. It's not going to enter their consciousness. You're not going to have those like serendipitous moments where they were like, oh, I was just thinking about you, I passed your information on to somebody.
Yeah. So how did you become part of Lit, and how do you feel like that's helped you throughout your business and your career?
Yeah, I walked into a networking event at a bowling alley in like 2011, and I had somebody approach me aside, so it wasn't a Latip event. I think it was just like a regular business networking. Okay. And then someone approached me who was a member of Latip about their, morning meetings. And I went to that, like I said, back in 2012, 2011, late 2011. Nice. And I've been a member ever since. Yeah, it has been the difference maker for my business in so many different ways. I think even as I shared in my opening keynote, that Latip, especially the chapter that I've been in for the last decade or so, has seen me through so many different layers and levels and experiences in my life, through the loss of two parents, through changes in my business, as I've hit new milestones, as I've just developed as a business person and as a man. They have seen me through all of it. And so again, it's that opportunity to practice and try on different things. I can test out a new tagline, or I can test out a new service and get people's feedback almost instantaneous in terms of, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Does it make sense? What am I not seeing? What are the blind spots that I might have? Again, that having access to that kind of community, I think, is the most valuable thing that a business owner can have.
Yeah, absolutely. And very well said. So thank you. So obviously you said your career has kind of taken different turns and whatnot. How have you continued that branding, or how do you continue to be yourself despite the fact that like your career has shifted?
Yeah, I think there's just the common theme for me. It's just always wanting to be of service, always wanting to lead with kindness and education, and just being helpful. And so, and obviously being a creative person. So, just being really clear on who I am, and then I can do that in multiple different ways, right? I don't have to just do it in this one lane. Obviously, I'm not going to be trying to do things that I'm not qualified to do, but if I have a skill set, if I have an experience, I don't have to be attached to one particular label or category in how I show up. I just have to show up as the same person in each and every one of those different capacities or ways. And so, like I said, leading with that kindness, leading with that empathy, leading with that education, wanting to be helpful. It's just finding a way that I can do that in whatever circumstance presents itself.
As far as your business consulting services, who is sort of an ideal client for you? Is there like a certain part of their journey that they ought to be in? Should they be coming to you right out of the gate? What's a good way to get in touch?
Yeah, they could certainly come to me like right out of the gate if they're just looking to kind of get started. It's like that old Chinese proverb, what's the best time to plant a tree? It's 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So wherever you are in your journey, it's always a good idea to reach out to someone like myself to be able to help guide you in terms of what is your ultimate vision, what is your ultimate mission, what is your ultimate goal. Let's figure out what your North Star is and then figure out the best way to get there. But ideally, where I see the best result is when I'm working with a business owner of an established professional service brand who has anywhere from 3 to 20 employees. They're in that 500,000 to $1 million range and they want to grow a little bit higher. And they are just struggling with being at the center of everything they're doing. They have built their business on their professionalism, their expertise, their reliability, and their results. And unfortunately, that's just made them like they're trapped in a golden cage of their own success.
So someone like myself, I'm largely a solopreneur, get some freelance help here and there. Do you feel like that could work for your services as well, or do you feel like you need to have a staff?
No, I could definitely work with your services, and it's probably the best time to do that because so often, going back to that person that's trapped in the golden cage, what happens is everything is trapped up here. They've got all the skill set, all the knowledge, the experience, but they haven't taken the time to document all that information. So they're always going to be trapped in that solopreneur spot, that section of one. Even if you never intend to hire, but you want to maybe engage with a virtual assistant, right? You have to know what those different jobs, what those different capacities are required in order to be able to do that. And so the best way to give yourself some time and some freedom is, even if you wanted to use AI or some automated tools to give yourself some freedom, you have to know what are the different capacities, the different jobs, and what are all the steps that are involved in that. And so having another person to do that really helps because they're going to see the things that you unconsciously do or subconsciously do without even realizing it. Oftentimes we think, oh, well, I do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, you actually do QRS, TUV before you even get to X, Y, and Z.
It's funny how that works because you're right. Everybody thinks that who would know myself best other than me, right? I've been walking around in my shoes for more decades than I care to admit. But it does seem like it takes that extra person. I think someone was saying it's along the lines of like, you can't see the nutrition label when you're on the inside because it's backwards.
Exactly.
What do you feel like if somebody's listening to all this and they're like, my business is not where I want it to be? Ali's like speaking my language. What is their first step, apart from basically calling you? What should they be doing to evaluate where their business is?
Yeah, well, I have a assessment called the Business Freedom Scorecard to help them assess themselves and their business in both the leadership, operations categories, so that they can figure out where they're the bottleneck in their business. Where are those roadblocks coming up? And give them some tips in terms of some things they can do on their own to start giving them some space and some freedom. But then obviously the next step is to have a conversation with me. One of the things that I'm really gifted at is being able to hear not just what's being said, but what's also not being said, and then what's underneath that. I don't lead with it, but it's part of what comes with a lot of the personal development work that I've done over the years, and being able to listen and sort of hear some of the issues that they may not be ready to express to their employees or to their spouse or to their partner, because they always want to project that level of confidence and strength. And it's like, no, it's okay to kind of put that aside for a little bit and get real. Yeah, get real, get vulnerable so that we can deal with the real issue. And so, yeah, start with the Business Freedom Scorecard. It'll give you the assessment of where to start. And then next is to book a call with me.
You got it. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I hope a lot of people take heed to your advice.
Yeah, I hope so as well. You know, small business owners, I have the utmost respect for each and every one of us who decides to take that risk, take that leap. We're 99% of the nation's economy. I know corporations get a big lot of focus, but really it's the small mom and pop businesses that have been working for years. And so it's time that we get back to making sure that the small business owners have what they need to really thrive and be successful.
Yeah. Hear, hear. Thank you.